SANDHAN, All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટ ના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.
Hello, this is Professor Unnat B. Patel. I have been working as Assistant Professor in Communication Skills at UV Patel College of Engineering, which is a constituent institute of Ganpati University. It's a high-tech education campus which has come up near Mehsana district, and I've been working there for over 10 years. Today I've got a chance to deliver a lecture under SANDHAN from BISEC, Bhaskarachari Institute of Space Applications and Geoinformatics. It's an initiative, as we are aware, by Office of Commissioner of Higher Education and Knowledge Commission of Gujarat KCG, Department of Education, Government of Gujarat. The topic for today is Englishing of foreign words. Let's start. I would like to take you to the history of how England came into existence and what happened over a period of time. If we start with that, then the history of English language really started with the arrival of 3 Germanic tribes. These were the tribes that invaded the Angles, the Saxons and the Jutes, who crossed the North Sea and invaded Britain during the 5th century AD. The inhabitants of Britain at that time, who were the local inhabitants, were speaking Celtic language. The Celtic speakers, because of these invasions, were pushed to west and north, what is presently known as Wales, Scotland and Ireland. As we know, United Kingdom is comprised of England, Scotland, Wales and Ireland. The Angles came from England, and their language was called English, from which the words England and English are derived. So here in the image that I have put, I have shown that how, from where these 3 tribes, Saxons, Angles and Jutes, came and how did they invade England. Old English, starting with 450 and in existence up to 1100 AD, the invading German tribes spoke similar languages, which in Britain developed into what we call Old English during the period that I mentioned just now. Old English did not sound or look like English today. Old English was entirely different. The words and everything was different there. Native English speakers cannot understand the Old English because of so many complexities that existed in the language at that time. So Old English was spoken until around 1100. I have put a sort of excerpt from Beowulf, which is a poem written in Old English. Middle English, if we talk about, then it starts with 1100 and that was in existence up to 1500 AD. In 1066, William the Conqueror, the Duke of Normandy, which was a part of modern France, invaded and conquered England. So this was again a new invasion, and as we are aware, it has happened in the history that whenever any tribe attacks any other tribe, then so many changes come about, and language, culture, everything undergoes complete change. So because of this, the new conqueror, called the Normans, brought with them a kind of French, which became the language of the royal court and the ruling and business classes. So at that time, now 2 languages were in existence side by side, England and French. For a period, there was a kind of linguistic division where the lower classes spoke English and the upper classes spoke French. So upper class people preferred to speak in French and lower class people preferred to speak in English, because English was in currency starting from 5th century AD, when the invasions, as we talked earlier, took place. So since then English was in existence, French was a new language because of this new attack, new invasion by William the Conqueror, and that's why 2 languages were in existence. In the 14th century, English became dominant in Britain again. but with many French words added. So what has happened? Normally it happens that when one particular language community is in existence and when it is inhabited by people of different other language community, then due to this interaction, so many words get exchanged in both the languages, and the same thing happened here also. But many French words were added in English. English became dominant. These French words crept into English. This language was called Middle English. It was a language of the great poet Chaucer, but it would still be difficult for native English speakers to understand today. Here I have put a sort of excerpt from a work of Chaucer, a work from Geoffrey Chaucer, the first English poet, here in the image. Modern English, 1500 onwards, 1500 AD onwards, what happened? That modern English came into existence. So since then, starting from 1500 AD, what we see is modern English, and this particular is divided into two segments. Modern English is divided in two segments. Early modern English, which existed from 1500 to 1800, and late modern English 1800 to the present times. Here we can see that Shakespeare's work, Hamlet, a very famous work of tragedy. An excerpt has been taken here, and as we know, early modern English is in use there. So when Shakespeare wrote, naturally early modern English was in existence in currency, and that was used by Shakespeare wonderfully in all his works. 1500 onwards, 1500 AD onwards, what has happened? Let us see. Towards the end of Middle English, a sudden and distinct change in pronunciation, the great vowel shift started, with vowels being pronounced shorter and shorter. From the 16th century, the British had contact with many people from around the world. As we know that the Britishers started they started doing it in many countries. They attacked many countries and they got control over many nations. So they had their presence in many countries of the world. So this and the renaissance of classical learning meant that many new words and phrases entered the language. The invention of printing also meant that there was now a common language in print. Books became cheaper and more people learned to read. So as we have seen that as technology is expanding, when something new comes into existence, it gives a push to something that is already ongoing. And because of that, it has happened that because of this invention of printing machine, books were printed in multiple copies and they were reaching to people, people were reading the language, and this was bringing about a sort of change in the way language was in usage. Printing also brought standardization of English. A sort of standardization process took place. So the things, while they are in oral mode only, and when things start getting printed, then a kind of change comes about. And the change is that now people become more conscious. Anything that is in written form, whenever we are writing anything, if anything is to be written in, anything is to be presented in written form, then one has to become very conscious. And we grow conscious also, because it becomes a sort of evidence. When something is written, it becomes legal evidence. So because of this invention of printing machines, books were printed in multiple copies, they were reaching to people, and this brought about a sort of standardization in English language. Printing also brought standardization in English. As I said, spelling and grammar became fixed. So the rules were charted out, that these are the rules of syntax, these are the rules of grammar, and according to the rules, the things became fixed in language. There came about a sort of syntax, sentence structures in existence. There came about a sort of word order in sentence. So things started becoming standard as time passed. And the dialect of London, where most publishing houses were, became standard. In 1604, the first English dictionary was published. So dictionary, as we know, a very useful resource for learning any language. and Dictionary of English was also published in 1604. So we got a sort of standard record of words existing in English language for the first time in 1604. The main difference, now let us focus on this. The main difference between early modern English and late modern English is vocabulary. Late modern English has many more words arising from two principal factors. Early modern English had less words, but later modern English has many different words. Because of these two factors, the factors that I am going to discuss in the course of this discussion. Firstly, the Industrial Revolution and technology created a need for new words. Whenever something new is invented, naturally we have to name that new object and the new tool, the new theory, the new principle, the new equipment. So it has to be named, and because of this ongoing technical inventions, all sorts of inventions, newer and newer things were coming into existence, and that's why it was required that all the things that were invented newly were to be given some name, and this enriched vocabulary like anything. Basically, this does not apply to only English language, but it applies to all the languages, that a given particular language community has to coin newer and newer words as newer and newer things are invented. There are certain examples also which I will be giving in the course of discussion, but let us say the storage device that we use today with computers, what we call pen drive. Nobody had imagined that a small thing like a small thing like chip, a chip like thing, would have the capacity of storing lot of data inside that. When it was invented, it was named pen drive. Now, because it was invented, it had to be named because it was to be made public. People had to get knowledge about it, and that's why it was named pen drive. Today, everyone would be aware. Every listener, even who is listening to me now, would be aware that pen drive has become very common word today. So this is what happens. So because of these ongoing technical expansions, newer and newer words were coming into existence, and secondly, because the British Empire was at its height, and it had covered almost 1/4 of the earth's surface. As I said earlier, that they were creating their business centers in different countries, and that's how they were controlling different nations also. India was also under their sovereign for so many years, as we are aware. So this was a case with so many countries of the world. So that was the second reason why English language was developing, its vocabulary was developing. From around 1600, the first English colonization of North America resulted in the creation of a distinct American variety of English. As we know that a part of people migrated to a different place, and that's how United States of America came into existence, what we call America. So it came into existence. Some English pronunciations and words froze when they reached America. In some ways, American English is more like the English of Shakespeare than modern British English is. Some expressions that the Britishers call Americanism are in fact original British expressions that were preserved in the colonies while lost for a time in Britain. For example, trash for rubbish. They are using this word trash. Loan as a verb instead of land, and fall for autumn. Another example, frame up, was re-imported into Britain through Hollywood gangster movies. So as we know, as we can see here by these examples, I want to say that these words were in currency earlier, and this new colony called America started using those words. So that has happened. What has influenced English? Let us try to see. What are the things, what are the factors that have influenced English? Spanish also had an influence on American English and subsequently British English. So Spanish language, with words like canyon, ranch, stampede and vigilant being examples of Spanish words that entered English through the settlement of the American West. French words through Louisiana and West African words through the slave trade also influenced American English, and so to an extent British English. So what has happened over the period of time, because of this exchange with different communities, lot many words have entered English language. In the course of this discussion, we are going to see what are the different words that have entered English and through what ways have they entered. So we will be seeing that. Today American English is particularly influential due to the USA's dominance of cinema, television, popular music, trade and technology, including the internet. But there are many other varieties of English around the world, including, for example, Australian English, New Zealand English, Canadian English, South African English, Indian English and Caribbean English. What has happened that whatever were the colonies of the Britishers, however the Britishers returned to their native, but they left some very rich legacy there, and that legacy the local people developed that particular language because English education was started by them in different countries, and after they left, the local people shaped it according to their needs. It has become official language in many countries today. So the reason which is already presented is that today American English is particularly influential because they have their dominance in almost the fields that I told you just now. Are cinema, television, music, trade and technology, internet even. So US, from most of the technology comes from US. The ongoing research is in abundance there. So whatever new things are coming into existence are taking place there, and that's why it has very great dominance, as we can see here. Now if we pay attention to this, then there are some common examples which I would like to present. That certain noticeable changes which have come about in English are that in Old English and in modern English, there are these changes, noticeable changes are visible at two junctures. What has happened? Either the spelling is entirely changed, or the meaning of the word has either expanded itself or it has become contracted. There are certain examples. For example, there was a word like stan, S-T-A-N in Old English. Now if you refer to the modern dictionary, you will not find that word in existence in dictionary. You will not see that word. But the same word exists in English language today, but it has been changed. Its spelling is entirely changed. The spelling has become S-T-O-N-E, stone. So the modern word stone was stan in Old English. Let us take another example. The word head. What we say, this head. This word head existed in Old English as Hefford, H-E-A-F-O-D. Now if you refer to the dictionary, you won't see that word there. Another example which I would like to present is loaf, L-O-A-F. That word loaf existed in English language, Old English, but its spelling was halaf, H-L-A-F. So the list is exhaustive. We can go on and we can see that the words have changed their spellings over a period of time. And so as I said, the first change was in spelling. Some examples are presented. The list is exhaustive. We can go on and it is going to be, it can be a very interesting exercise if students start doing this. Sometimes very comic things, very amusing things would come out of this. So it is something that we are surprised that how these changes came about. So but it has happened. Another change, another shift which occurred was in the terms of meaning. Meaning of words was changed. There are some amusing examples here which I would like to present. Let us start with the first word, deer, D-E-E-R. It stands for a specific animal. What we say, haran in Gujarati. Now you will be surprised to know that this word, when it was used for any animal. Any animal or deer. Second is citizen. This word very common. anybody belonging to a particular nation, living in, following a particular sovereignty, is a citizen, whether the person is living in desert, forest, urbanized area, rural area, wherever. But citizen word is commonly used for all the people belonging to a particular nation. But in Old English, it was used only for the people who were living in urbanized, developed areas. Now see the change, what has happened. That earlier it was used in general sense, earlier it was used in a very narrow sense, but today it is being used in a sort of general sense. Now a very, very amusing example, wife. This word wife was earlier used for any woman. Now see, over a period of time, today wife means the lady whom you marry is your wife. Earlier it was used in a very general sense that any lady was called wife. But now what has happened is that the meaning has become specific. Junk, anything that is a sort of waste, plastic bottles or any sort of things, rubbish, what we say, which are not needed, old newspapers, old magazines, old things, old bottles, old plastic things, everything comes under junk. But earlier it was used for old rope, a rope which we use, what we call door rope. So junk was used in that particular sense during Old English, but in modern times junk, it covers so many things. So sometimes we see that the meaning has either expanded, the meaning has become contracted. These are the changes in two aspects, as I said, in terms of spelling and in terms of meaning that has come about in English language over a period of time. Now let us focus on certain foreign expressions from other languages which are being used in English today. The original, their languages of origin will be discussed, and let us see how these words have become part and parcel of English language. There will be so many words which when you would come across, you won't believe that really is it so that this word is not from English language. Let us see the examples. The first and foremost is exempli gratia, what we say E.G. This is a very common expression that everybody must be using. For example, whenever we have to say, whenever we write an example, we say E.G. E.g. exempli gratia. Its meaning is, for example, so whenever example is to be supplied, we use this. Its origin is in Latin language, and it stands for the sake of an example. So the meaning, in Latin language, its meaning was for the sake of an example, not to be confused with idest. That's a different thing, but it stood for the sake of an example. I can give an example. There were several types of trees in the forest. For example, E.Z. beech, oak, birch, maple, etc. So when we write any such sentence, we first of all present the fact and then we provide examples, and in between we write E.G. That is exempli gratia. It's a word of Latin origin. Another is RSVP. This is written as capital R, capital S, capital V, capital P. Its meaning is please reply. You must have come across such expressions in invitation cards. Its origin is French language. So it's an expression of French language, and this word is also very much used, very frequently used. Example that I can give you, when we write, we say, don't forget to RSVP before Thursday. I don't know how many of you have come across this expression, but now on, when you come across this expression RSVP, understand it as please reply. So the sender of the message is asking you to send your reply. So RSVP is used. That is another expression. Then déjà vu. This is a very rare expression, but it is there in English language. It is also of French origin. Illusion of having experienced something already. So when you have a sort of experience of something, earlier experience of something, then we can use this expression déjà vu. It means illusion of having experienced something already. So it's a sort, it is when you see something, sometimes it happens that when things take place, immediately our sense tells us that this incident seems to have happened earlier with me, and you cannot, and you start anticipating also that now this particular X guy would say this, Y guy would say this thing would happen, that thing would happen. So it's a sort of illusion of having experienced something already, that is called déjà vu. This happens many a times with most of the people. You feel that this incident has occurred earlier, as if you have some memories, some impression of it in your mind. Example, we can use this word, I had a weird feeling of déjà vu as I entered the old house. When you enter somewhere, when you go to some place, and you feel as if you have been to this place earlier, that is déjà vu. That is an expression of French language which is very much in English today, which we use it in English language today. Another expression is social blunder. What we say, fox pass. Fox pass. Basically, there are so many examples here which I am going to discuss in the course of this discussion, which many of you might not have heard even. But I would suggest that in order to strengthen your command on language, you should form the habit of reading newspapers, and that too dailies, Times of India, Indian Express, such dailies. Because in newspapers, we get usage of modern day language. Modern day language is used there, and such expressions are very common in dailies. The reporters are using such expressions abundantly, very frequently in their articles. Anyway, the expression is fox pass. Its meaning is social blunder. It is also of French origin. Additional information I would like to provide about this word is false step. It is usually used for a breach of etiquette. When you break some etiquette, it's a breach of etiquette. Something was expected from you, but you broke it. You did not follow that. So we use this expression fox pass. I can give the example. We can say that she soon realized that she had committed a grave fox pass. Now don't get surprised when you come across this expression somewhere. When someone has made a mistake, then it can be expressed this way. I don't insist that such expressions are to be used in your everyday communication whenever you write any message, because there are chances that your audience might not be aware of these words. But having this knowledge is desirable. So you should be knowing. Sometimes these expressions add some beauty to your language also, to your expression also. And having knowledge of these expressions is very much needed. So fox pass stands for social blunder. It's a word of French origin. The next that I would like to take up is du jour. Its meaning is of the day. It is also an expression of French language. And additional information which I would like to supply about this word is, it is also used as meaning food prepared for a particular day. When some particular dish is prepared for a particular day, then we can use this word du jour. I would like to give an example. Environmentalism is the big issue du jour. Means of latest times, of today's time. So du jour is used of the day, of present times. In that particular sense it is used. Bon voyage. Bon voice occurs in one of the poems. It was written by Nissim Ezekiel's poem, Goodbye Party for Miss Puspa T.S. In that particular poem, this word bon voice is used. Bon voice is that expressing compliments to somebody for a particular trip. When somebody is going on trip, then we relatives gather there to express their compliments for the journey to become pleasant. That is called bon voice. So bon voice means when people gather to express their compliments for some happy journey to somebody who is going somewhere. An example can be given here of bon voice. He yelled bon voice as the sheep pulled away from the dock. So bon voice means it is a sort of a thing what we say bidding farewell to somebody. So bon voice, it is also a word of French origin which is used in English very much. Next is alma mater. As we know that in today's time, it has happened that students who have passed out from some institute, they also pay back to the institute. They are called alumni of the institute. And the university is called alma mater for them. So the students are alumni, the university or college or the institute is alma mater. This is a word of Latin origin, and somewhere around in 18th century, in the first decade of 18th century, it crept into English language. Once its common meaning would be one's old university or school. So alma mater, that word. You can give an example. My alma mater keeps asking me for donations. So you studied in some institute, and the institute writes a letter to you that you are a proud student of our institute, and now you are earning thousands and crores and millions and this and that, and please there is a need that please you can show your reverence to the institute by paying a part of your earning for the welfare of the institute. So alma mater is the institute, is the university where you studied earlier. Alma mater, it's a word of Latin origin. Another word is cum laude, C-U-M, cum laude, L-A-U-D-E, with honor, with praise. A word of Latin origin. We can say that work hard and you can graduate cum laude, means with honor. So when you are advising somebody to work properly, to study properly, then this expression can be used. Work hard and you can graduate cum laude, means with honor, with praise, means you will have a very good result. So when you are advising somebody for working hard and for getting bright result, this expression can be used. It is an expression of Latin language. Femme fatale, I must spell it. Femme, F-E-M-M-E, femme, fatale, F-A-T-A-L-E, femme fatale. It's a word of French origin again, and its meaning is attractive, dangerous woman. Attractive as well as dangerous. She had the air, example. She had the air of a female fatale, and I was instantly on my guard. So femme fatale is also an expression which can be used while referring to a lady who is attractive as well as dangerous also. Team spirit, a very common word which we use in English today. For that, an expression is used, and the expression is esprit de corps. Esprit, E-S-P-R-I-T, D-D-E, corps, C-O-R-P-S. This expression, esprit de corps, its meaning is team spirit. But I think that team spirit would be better to understand. But this expression is basically from French language. The sales department was well known for its esprit de corps. Means when you are talking about some particular department of a particular organization, and if the department is doing well, if there is very good team spirit prevailing among the members of a particular department, and if you want to express compliments, then you can use this expression esprit de corps while praising that particular department for the team spirit that is there among the members of it. So, an expression of French language, esprit de corps. Verbatim, a very common expression, verbatim, which we almost, I don't think there will be anybody who hasn't heard this verbatim. Verbatim means exactly as the same words, ditto what we say. So, as it is given, when we write verbatim, word to word, then it is verbatim. It's an expression of Latin language. Example I can provide you is, take down my speech verbatim. If you are asking somebody that you are going to present your oral speech, and you are asking somebody to take it down, to note down every word that you are going to speak, you are going to speak, then you can use this expression of Latin language. Verbatim means exactly in the same words, using the same words, covering all the words. Prima donna is another expression. In between, I would like to advise you that internet is being used like anything by students today, whether they belong to arts faculty, commerce, science, engineering, law, or anything. And internet has become a handy tool. So if you go to internet and if you enter this keyword, that foreign expressions in English language, then you can have an exhaustive list of such words, and some certain words have become very common, so common that you will be surprised that I've been using this word in English language for these many years, but I didn't know its origin. So prima donna is again a word from Italy. So from Italy, from Italian language, this has been borrowed, this has crept into English. Its meaning is temperamental performer, first or principal singer in opera company. So it is in the music, it is in the field of music. That temperamental performer, first or principal singer in opera company. So opera, as you know, it is a word related to music. So the principal singer of opera is called prima donna. We can use this word in English this way when we speak a sentence. Say may be good, but what a prima donna. So this expression prima donna can be used for somebody, the chief singer of a particular opera. It is a word from Italy, as I said. Avant-garde. Its meaning is original, cutting edge. Avant-garde. Literally, advance guard or first to attack, applied to radically innovative movements in the arts, sometimes with a sarcastic suggestion of the bizarre of incomprehensible. Renaissance, a very, very popular movement in English literature, was a sort of avant-garde, a very, very notable. And this word, students of English literature will be well familiar with this avant-garde, this expression, which is of French language. As you must have observed also, that whatever expressions, whatever words, whatever things have been discussed so far, most of them have come from French language. Because as I said that it was attacked by the French conqueror, and English and French existed in England for so many years, and because of that most of the French words, many French words, I should not say most, but many French words have entered into English this way. It was all a bit avant-garde for my tests. You can use this expression in our own sentence this way. Status quo, a very common expression. As I said, as I advised you earlier, that if you read newspapers, then in newspapers you will get this expression, status quo. Its meaning is current state of affairs, state in which the condition, the present condition of something, that is status quo. He is too comfortable with the status quo, means whatever present conditions are prevailing, if somebody is satisfied with the condition in which one is, then we can use this expression, he is too comfortable with the status quo, means the condition in which he or she is. It is an expression of Latin language. Another example, carte blanche. I hope you are enjoying this session. These newer and newer expressions which you are probably hearing for the first time. Many of them you must have heard earlier, and some of them you are hearing for the first time. So I hope you are enjoying this. Another word I am adding to that is carte blanche. It's an expression of French language, and its meaning is a free hand, a blank check. Blank check, when we see movies, we see in many movies that somebody is offering a blank check, that write whatever amount you want on this. So a blank check can be called carte blanche. It's an expression of French language. He gave me carte blanche to finish it any way I liked. We can use this. Or he gave me carte blanche to finish it any way I liked. So when you are paying some remuneration, some honorarium, some money to somebody for doing something, and if the blank check is being given, that carte blanche, C-A-R-T-E, carte blanche, B-L-A-N-C-H-E, can be used there for the blank check. Caveat emptor. It is one more example. Caveat emptor. C-A-V-E-A-T, caveat, emptor, E-M-P-T-O-R. Let the buyer beware. When somebody is buying something, then one has to be aware. As you know that consumers, for the awareness of consumers, the government has launched many campaigns by the ministry, the specific ministry launches ads and campaigns for awareness, for creating awareness among the consumers, that before you buy anything, kindly check these details, see this, see that, so that they don't get cheated by that, and they can get better thing at reasonable price. So for the awareness of the consumers, government is launching a lot of campaigns, and this can be used, caveat emptor. It is an expression of Latin language. We can use it this way in our sentence. It is a reliable store, but still caveat emptor. When you are advising somebody is going to buy something from somewhere, however the market, the place, the store, the owner is very honest and the prices are very reasonable, but when you are advising, you can use this expression that it is a reliable store. It is a store from where things can be bought at reasonable price, but still caveat emptor, means be aware, see everything and buy. Alpha and omega, another expression from Greek language. Its meaning is the beginning and the end. Alpha and omega means the beginning and the end. When you are writing about something and you are going to focus on that, you are going to focus on beginning and the end of it, then you can use this alpha and omega. It can be used this way. I am giving you an example. In the New Testament book of Revelation, God says, I am alpha and omega, meaning that He is the beginning and end of all things. So alpha and omega is the word which can be used, means the beginning and the end. So when you are writing something, in order to give novelty to your writing, this expression alpha and omega can be used. It is of Greek language, and I would advise that the words which are being discussed today, you would use in your language, so that your language becomes polished, your reader gets impressed by that. But they cannot be used everywhere in all writings. See that to whom are you writing to, and if you think that the person is having some very good standard of language, then these expressions can be undoubtedly used. Tabula rasa is a word from Latin language. Empty state, it's the meaning of it. It is very rarely used. If we can start from a tabula rasa, then anything is possible. Means when you are studying something and you feel that we should start from the beginning of it, from the beginning, then for that particular context, tabula rasa can be used. A very rare expression, as I said. Ad nauseam, ad nauseam. Another example before I explain this is ad hoc, a very common word which is used, the ad hoc appointment, ad hoc lecturer. Ad hoc means for a temporary purpose. It is also an expression of Latin language. Ad hoc means for a short notice, for temporary purpose, as a sort of feeler, for attaining some objective, a sort of temporary arrangement. We use ad hoc. Same word is ad nauseam. Its meaning is endlessly to the point of nausea. She showed us holy snaps and nauseam. So ad nauseam is used for mentioning, for referring to the point of nausea. It is an expression of Latin language. Towards the end of this, I would like to talk about a very common word, another common word of Latin origin, bona fide. In good faith, bona fide certificate. Students go to the institute that I want bona fide certificate. So a certificate that is given in good spirit, that so and so, Mr. so and so or Miss so and so is a student of so and so institute and is studying in so and so semester and is having good moral character and this and that. So the bona fide certificate which is given, bona fide, this word very commonly used in English language today, and it is given in good faith. So it is a word of Latin origin. Then when we are explaining something, then we use one common expression. It is like that E.G. exempli gratia. Another example is I.E. Id ist. ID space est. Id ist. The meaning is that is, means you have said something and now you want to make it more simple for understanding of the people. It is, that is I.E. We are very frequently using this. Its meaning is it est. It is also of Latin origin. She took her opinions to their logical confusion, that is, she killed him. So when you are, something is said in the previous sentence, and in order to simplify the same expression, we put I.E. and then we simplify we write the simplified version after this I.E. It is. A vox populi, I would take this word of Latin origin. Vox populi means voice of the people. Its meaning is voice of the people. This word is also very recurrently used in newspapers when there is a sort of people are taking out dharana, they are showing their protest against something. Then vox populi is used. It's a word of Latin origin. Towards the end, I would like to talk to you about some very common French words in a nutshell. I would not go in details, but very common words which we are using of French origin and which have become almost English words which we are not aware even that these are the words of French language and we are using them in English. These words are check, chef, artist, bureau, cafe, gallop, nature, restaurant, cabinet, justice. These are the words of French language and we are using them very frequently in English language. There are some words of Italian origin. These words are opera, piano, studio, solo, traffic, pizza, volcano. These are the words of Italian origin. Then Indian words, our own great country. There are so many words of our language which are in English today. These words are curry, loot, thug, yoga, chutney, bangle, chitta, shampoo, paisama, veranda, bungalow, chapati, jungle. These are the words of Indian origin, and these words are being used in English today. So today a sort of brief review has been presented on what foreign words are there in English which we are using in our English language and which we are not aware of them, about their origin. Today a short account has been expressed here. Thank you very much.
SANDHAN, All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.